evening and welcome to another show of The Law and You. We are blessed this Tuesday to be in your homes and also to have Wakili Eliud with us as we continue with the series on family. The last day, this being our first Tuesday of December, we'll be dealing on the issues touching on children. Children are a vocal point in the family, and we'll be opening up to know what does the Constitution say about children, what does the Children Act say about children, what are the rights of the children, what are the responsibilities and rights of fathers and mothers. Maybe we'll be doing this in 1 or 2 Tuesdays, and we pray that as we head to Christmas that we'll be able to cover much as we also plan for the next quarter of the year 2022. But before we start on the issue of children, Wakili, last weekend when we were dealing with polygamy and marriages, there's a question that has come up, and guys were like, oh, we didn't know that prenups are allowed in Kenya, but how do, if I want to do a prenup, what are the steps or what should I do to be able to get a solid prenup that maybe when one of the spouses is not available, or one spouse cannot challenge it, or maybe the children of one of the spouses cannot challenge it?
Thank you for having me on today's show. And on that question, there are different ways of dealing with a prenup issue. One of them is we had advised, and I continue to advise, that you need to go to a professional who in this case is a lawyer.
Yes.
Because a professional understands what needs to be put in that document and how to structure that document.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that you need to go to a lawyer, sit down with them, prepare the prenup, and you can either choose to leave a document with a lawyer or to carry it home with you as a party.
As a party?
Yes.
So what you're advising is like just more of the way you do our sale agreements and everything. Go to a lawyer, let him prepare, let him sign, and because the challenge what person was asking, especially when we were saying about prenups, whereby I've said, I've come with this as a part of my property. And then maybe by bad luck, God forbid, one of the person passes on. And they were saying maybe when now the family of the boy can come and be like, this property is ours. And it was like, no, I have a prenup, even when we had agreed with him, this will be my properties. And the biggest question was, if I just flash out a paper, they may be like, no, you cheated, or you faked it, or you coerced him to sign. So I believe what you're saying about the issue of going before a lawyer to sign it, and even for a lawyer coming and backing you up, yes, they came before me and they signed. I think the biggest challenge is that also prenups is a new dispensation, and people who love their privacy. No one wants people to know as I go around. We have a prenup agreement under the table. But moving forward, I think it's something that when people appreciate the importance, especially what we said last time, especially when you're coming, maybe you're getting married in old age, you have children from another previous marriages, or you have 1 or 2 other things, sometimes it helps even to solve disputes, and it helps even to ensure that everyone lives happily because everyone knows their boundaries. But as we said last time, and this is our personal advice, if it's for young guys, enter into marriage, bless God, pray God to bless you with properties, and live as one. No, entering into the issue of children, I would like us maybe to start on the Constitution. I want us to build up on what does the law say, what are these things, and I would like maybe you can point out, this is under Article 53 of the Constitution, what are the rights of children under the Constitution?
So children, first of all, are very important to the society. And there's also a definition. We need to start from the definition of who is a child.
Yeah.
And a child is a person who is under the age of 18 years of age. And we are very lucky as a country to have come up with a document called the Children's Act, whereby in 2001 we came up with an act to actually make sure that we protect the welfare of a child.
Yeah.
And so in this case, if you're over the age of 18, you are an adult in this country. But if you are under the age of 18, then you qualify to enjoy the rights which are provided under the Children's Act and also under the Constitution.
Yeah.
And in the Constitution, under what you've mentioned, Article 53, we have a child has various rights. And one of the rights is that a child has a right to a name,
Yeah.
and to nationality in a country.
So what we are saying is that when a child is born, it cannot be nameless. It cannot be nameless. And also, if you are born in Kenya, you have a right to be a Kenyan. It's a right by birth.
It's a right by birth. And so as a parent, you cannot just leave a child without a name, to just, and actually leave them to grow up without a name.
Without a name, yeah.
It will be against their right, and they can actually enforce that right.
Okay.
And so you need to ensure that your child has a right, and to prove that they're Kenyans. That's why we go for the birth notification, and we get their birth certificate.
Their birth certificates.
Yes.
Then I think on the issue of names, I think, but this is a practice that people have. When a child is born, you're given a birth notification, and then after that, there's a name on the birth notification, and with that, you can go get the birth certificate. And in one place, even when you're getting the birth certificate, they ask you, do you want to change the name? So, means after you get the birth certificate, do you think, is it possible for a child to change their names along the way, or they have to wait until they're 18 when they can make those decisions for themselves? I'm saying this, if the parent still wants you to maintain the name Eliud, but you, Eliud, you're 10 years old, you want to change your name. You're like, no, me, I'm a 10-year-old, and I know my rights. I don't want to change. I want to change my name to Ken. So is it possible?
Under an act of parliament that we call the Births and Death Act, it gives a provision whereby the only time you can change a child's name is if the child is under the age of 2 years.
Yeah.
That's the only time the child's name can be changed.
Yeah.
And you can either change or even add
another
name.
Yeah.
But beyond the age of 2 years, you will be required to, if a child comes and the child is 10 years of age, they'll be required to actually maybe swear a deed poll, which is done by an adult.
By the parent?
By the parent or a friend, because a child may not, a guardian. So this guardian is able to actually swear this. Deed poll is basically an affidavit, and this parent needs to also add a friend who has known the parent for over 7 years to also support that they know this parent. And once they have that affidavit, which is a statutory declaration that they intend to change the name of the child, then they will be required to register that deed poll. And once it is registered, then it is gazetted in the Kenya Gazette.
Okay.
And then they will use that Kenya Gazette to now go to the Ministry of Births and Deaths to actually change the name on the birth certificate.
So what you are saying, if you have not changed your name after 2 years, it's only the parent who can now initiate this process.
Yes.
And after, or maybe after that, wait until you're 18 years of age to be able to initiate this.
Yeah.
What other rights are we looking at in the Constitution?
The Constitution also has the right to, a child has a right to basic education.
Yes.
And so, basically, basic education, a child should be taken to school. And that's a right to a child. And as a nation, we are lucky we have the free education being provided for. So there's no paying school fees for a child. And so if you're found not to be taking your child to school,
you can be prosecuted.
You can be prosecuted for that.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Maybe another right that we can...
There's a right to be protected from abuse, violence, harmful cultural practices, or forms of inhuman treatment. A child has a right to be protected. For example, that cultural practices, for example, where there's FGM. So you cannot take a child through that whole process, yet we know that it is not legally right for that process to be undertaken on a child.
So what we are saying is that even if you are the parent of this child, the child has a right to be protected from harmful culture practices.
Yes.
And maybe another thing that maybe we should have said when we are starting is that the parents, although you have a right over that child, the government has also an overriding right. You don't have the alpha and omega upon your child. That's the reason why, if you want to practice FGM on this child, you will not be allowed to do that. So harmful culture practices like maybe FGM, there's beading. Beading, I don't know, for the people of the Ma community understands beading, whereby someone comes and puts a bead over you, shanga. And when you do that, they become like the girlfriend. He has a right of sexual rights upon that child. Is more of a boyfriend. And also early marriages, because there are some communities that believe when a child starts getting her periods, that's the time to get married off. So I think it's also very clear for people to understand that a child has a right to be protected against that. And being the parent, you are the first person with the responsibility to do that. And if you fail, the government will come for you. I don't know if you have torture. There's also the issue of torture. You have talked about torture. And I remember there are people who beat up children on our trauma, and things happen. And at the end of the program, as we finish, we'll tell you what to do, because maybe sometimes you have seen a parent torturing the child, and I'm kata na panga, and I'm choma na panga, majimoto, and everything, and you don't know what to do. Maybe at some point we'll mention on enforcement of the Bill of Rights. Yes.
This is part of actually that provision that also provides that a child has a right to be protected from violence. And from punishment.
Yes.
Which is basically you cannot beat your child, or you know how the Bible says that you should not spare the rod. And so you're not allowed to overdo it. The child has a right not to be punished under the law. So I don't know what the church thinks about it, but there's that provision. The child has that right. There's also a right to be protected from hazardous labor. Or harmful labor. So you cannot take this child or force them to be carrying out some tasks.
To be in the farm.
Yes. That would be against the child's rights.
If that's not the thing, I'll not pay your school fees. So parents, you need to understand it's not a must. The children have a right for school fees to be paid, for food and shelter, despite irregardless and regardless. There's one leader of ours who says regardless and irregardless, that he has worked or not. So those kind of violence, sometimes, especially when the religious fanatics, I'll call them religious fanatics, sometimes they beat the children almost to death, claiming they want to remove demons in them. So we'll be saying on what to do if, in case you see something like that, what should you do or what happens? Yes, any other right that the children have?
Also, the children have a right to parental responsibility, and this is equal responsibility from both father and mother, whether they are still together or separated. So this is actually one of the major articles that we use in the children's court whenever one party who is a parent is seeking for custody or for parental responsibility from the other party. Maybe the father has refused to actually pay school fees or clothe the child. This is one of the provisions which we go to and say, you know, the child has a right that each parent should take care of this child. Yes.
So what we are saying is that it's not in a situation whereby two people are married, even if you're not married, even if you are divorced, even if you have never been married, you met, and a baby came out of your union, the child has a right to be taken care of and responsibility from the father and the mother equally. But is there we speak about equality and equity and equality. I think maybe we'll come at that point and see when we go to the children's court, are we talking about equity or equality? But everyone has a responsibility for that. And maybe when we talk about responsibilities, is it about issues of paying school fees only and buying clothes? Or what's the responsibility when we talk about the responsibility?
There are different responsibilities that a parent has. So there's even the right to religion. There's a right to health that each parent has upon this child. So we can go to court, as a party, as a parent, you can go to court and say that he has denied you the chance to maybe ensure that the child goes through a Sunday school or joins a church, and is such a dispute. So it's not just about maintenance and custody. There is more to that, even a name, that you have been denied to issue a certain name to the child.
So a father and a mother can fight about that, and you can go to court for us to have equal names. Nitoe moja, utoe moja.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, does this also come on the issue? Because I know there are mothers who sometimes refuse the fathers to see their children, and as a form, maybe wamekosana mzee na bibi wamekosana, and they're like, as a form of punishing this guy, I will not let him see the child. When we talk about equal responsibilities from the father, is this some of things, because the fatherly love and the guidance, is it part of this as we speak?
It is part of what we call access, that both parents have equal right to access the child, which may be through, if one parent has a full custody and they are living with a child at home, we are not supposed to deny the other party the chance to actually spend time and to even see the child, maybe even take the child out. And I believe we are supposed to talk about this some more next week.
Deeply.
So that's one of the rights that also is covered under parental responsibility, that you have access to actually spend time, do homework with the child, even if you're not living with the child. Make sure that you maybe video call the child and text and have communication and participate in the well-being of the child, and in the raising of the child.
Okay. So at least now when guys are asking for fathers and mothers to be responsible, they need also to know that responsibility comes with a reward, and the reward is that he can be able to access and see his child. Which other right are we looking at?
There is the right not to be detained, except as a measure of last resort. And if this child is detained, there are two things. You should ensure that this child is not detained together with adults. And the other one is that it should be for the shortest period of time. And you should also consider the agenda when you're detaining this child.
I think this one, I think you need to look straight to the camera, because the police stations abuse this so much. A child is not supposed to be arrested and detained like an adult. And we said a child is below 18 years and below. And even if you are taking this child to the police, to court, it's not like an adult, the way you take up the adult, locking up for 24 hours, take him, na kama umemshika Friday, you wake up on Monday. And that's the reason why the Constitution is very clear on the last resort. Maybe you have tried everything else has failed. And number two, children and adults should not be mixed in police stations. Please, 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 parents, if your child, you go to a police station, your child is arrested, it should not be mixed up with adults. They are supposed to be in a separate room with separate, depending on the gender. That means boys should be on one side, girls on the other side. Separate from adults. Si kwa sababu ni msichana naekwa na wamama, ama kwa sababu ni kijana naekwa na vijana. Even if he's 17 years and 11 months, he's still a child. He may be big, he may be masculine, but he's still a child. And that's the reason why the Constitution is saying, unless at the last resort. Hakuna option ingine. And even for the detaining, and if that's the reason why he's saying for the shortest time possible. Maybe kama kunywa madre, maybe unamshika, maybe unamweka kando for 2-3 hours and sober up, then you decide on what to do. And the good thing these days, most of the police stations that we need to applaud that is that police stations have gender desks, which also are child protection officers who have been trained in police stations. So if you are a parent, umefika police station, unaona mtoto hafanyi vizuri, ask the OCS, I want to speak to the the child protection officer in that place, and you'll be able to be helped. Let us help our children, because whenever they go to these police stations or prisons, they meet up with people. Sengine wanaenda wanaharibiwa hata zaidi, and they are hardened. And that's the reason why we'll discuss at some point huko nyuma, even if a child is taken to court, na afungwe aendange kufungwa prison kama wengine. There are special places for children. It's approved schools or that they are taken. Wanapelekwa pale because at that point the child is being trained, is being reformed to be a proper adult in the near future. Maybe which other?
This is the last one,
yeah.
which we actually utilize a lot in our courts, and I believe it forms the foundation of the Children's Act, and this is that the best interest of a child is of paramount importance.
Yeah.
So whenever we look at any right, the best interest of a child is what we focus on. And this helps a lot where, for example, the parents are not in good terms and they want to influence the decision of the court. What the court will do is that it will look at the child. Where does the child's best interest
that means what you are saying is that the child can forego what the mother and the father are saying and make a decision that they want to make sure that the child interests are well taken care of.
Yes.
This one is not about now I'm the parent. That's what we are saying. The government has an overriding interest, and now the government comes as a magistrate on that day, as a court on that day. That yes, even you can pick. I know of cases whereby maybe we'll talk this deeper maybe from next time because of time. But we know a situation where even the court can be like, no, this child, can you get maybe an uncle? Can you get the grandmother? Can the grandmother stay with this child until we make these decisions? So I think it's also very important to know everything we have said. Best education, harmful practice, this is the overriding factor. The best interest of the child. And this means, and that maybe that we'll mention at some point, because the next I've heard you talk about court. I want you tell people where do they go to court. You'll find even children cases don't stay so much in court compared to normal cases. The other cases you can have them in 1, 2, 3 years, but for a children case, serve come next week, or even serve on Monday, come on Wednesday or Thursday, because a child needs to report to school. So the court cannot allow you to come after 3 months to decide if you pay school fees or not. So maybe Wakili, as we are talking about the best interest of the child, we were saying some of these things. Mzazi amefanya, they have tortured their children, they have refused to take their children to school, they have refused to take their children to give them names or whatever, things like those. And me, I'm an outsider. I'm seeing this is happening to this child. Do I have a right to help this child? Do I have a solution? As in, do I have a solution to help this child? Am I have to leave it to the parents who are testing or who are torturing this child?
Before we go to that question, I wanted to mention about this best interest of a child, and say that we have situations whereby we even invite the child to come and speak on behalf of
say
himself,
whatever they want to say.
what they want. So the child will say, I want to go to this school, or I want to live with mommy, or I want to live with daddy. And so the best interest is really weighty. And on this other issue, that if a child is not getting the best interest, whether as a neighbor or as a friend, I can take some action. Yes, you have that responsibility to actually make sure that this child's best interest is taken care of, and you can file a suit for or a case in court, and even make a complaint at the police station for protection of this child.
So what we are saying there, when it comes to the Article 53 on children and also the Children's Act, it took us back to what we had in the traditional days, that mtoto ni wa jamii. So what we are asking is, if you are seeing a child is suffering out there, do not keep quiet. You have a right. Move to the police station, or you can move to court to be able to protect this child, because Article 53 is another Bill of Rights, and if you read 22, 23, Article 22 and 23 of the Constitution, anyone has a right to approach the court when you feel someone's rights are being violated. So, children court, when you have children matters, do you take them to where we took the divorce matters?
No.
The matrimonial property matters?
No. You don't take them to to the commercial court, like the divorce,
or land matters,
or land court, or to the high court. There's a special court that came with this new act in 2001, which is a children's court, and actually most of the magistrates court also act as a children's court. And so this is where you take up any issue to deal with the children regarding the custody, maintenance, child welfare and protection. That's why you take such cases, you file them in that court. But even before you go to the court, we have social protection and social welfare departments, and they are found in each and every I wanted to say district, but in every disease office in this country.
They are the sub-county now.
Yes.
Sub-county headquarters there.
So you can go to the sub-county headquarters and lodge your complaint. If you're a parent and you need to actually have the other parent take care of the welfare of the child, you can also lodge a complaint, and the social welfare officers are able to help you and assist you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe another thing that people need to understand, it's advisable to always approach an advocate to help you on these cases. But one thing I'll tell you, the children court is one of the most friendly courts, even to people who don't know to draft. I've seen in court the judge asking, ulikuwa unataka nini? So endo uandike unataka hii. They guide the people who go to court, and the reason is because of what we said, the best interest of the child. The children's court is one of the court hautarudishwa kwa sababu umedraft vibaya, and especially when you need school fees. It's clear. I may not be understanding what I'm saying, but I need this child to read. I need this child to have medical cover, to aweke kwa NHIF ya mzee, because I find fathers even refuse. They are not paying even an extra coin, but they have refused to add the children to be able to get the good health care. Wakili, I think time is not on our side. Would have gone. Sometimes we think we'll cover a lot, but time is not ours.
Yes, but to conclude on that issue on the children's court in itself, we also have situations whereby you find the magistrate actually not even demanding that you write whatever you want. We listen to you. And you hear them say sometimes, Mama unataka nini? And you explain yourself. And they are able to enforce that and make it a court order. Mzee endo ulipe school fees, alafu ukuje hapa. So you hear such things in that court, and they are able to actually deal with issues quite fast. They don't wait for you to actually come and file.
They practice Article 159 to the fullest. 159,
and also they are also able to, from the new regulations that came with the new Chief Justice the other day, that filing of a children's court cases is free of charge. So you do not need to suffer. You don't need to be out there maybe struggling to pay school fees for your child. And the other party, the father or the mother, has refused to take care of to play their role. You can actually file that case. You come to the lawyers, and they are able to guide you, and it will be very easy for you to get justice.
To get justice. As what Wakila said, is that the children court is made in a way that everyone can easily access justice without, when we talk about Article 159, Article 159 of the Constitution says no one will be denied justice because of technicalities. So the children court is one of the courts that really tries that, and the new Chief Justice, we're very thankful for that. He abolished all filing fees for children court matters, and most lawyers, if you go to a lawyer and you tell them, please guide me, I know most lawyers are very nice people. They will guide you, but if you have money to pay a lawyer, it makes life easy for you. But even if you don't have, there are even children welfare, there are organizations, NGOs that deal with children, and maybe in our next show we'll be mentioning where you can find them. They will help a lot, help for free to ensure that the best welfare of the child is maintained. Next week, we'll be dwelling more on other children matters, but on the issue of custody, on the issue of maintenance, what happens, who gets home with who goes home with the child, who pays for school fees, who pays for medical cover. And I know there are a lot of questions when it comes to children. We'll be dwelling on that. Are there situations whereby a child over 18 can still ask to be maintained by their parents? We'll be delving on that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It has been the law, and you have been your host, Kenneth Mbaabu, from Kinyua Mbaabu Co Advocates. Eliud, I don't know if you have a closing remark. I'll tell people good night at CL's next Tuesday at 8 p.m. on One Accord TV.
Good night, everyone.
Asante sana.